Thank you so much, Gary, and it's lovely to see you since our days together in East Africa. And I really want to warmly thank the UN Office of the Special Advisor on Africa, and in particular, Her Excellency, my sister, Ms. Cristina Duarte, for giving WFP the opportunity to contribute to the 2022 Africa Dialogue Series and allowing me to take the floor in today's high-level policy dialogue. We've been honored to co-lead with ILO the third week of this edition, which focused on a subject that deeply resonates with our work across the continent. And from providing cash transfers to making school feeding and other national social protection schemes more nutrition sensitive and responsive to shocks, WFP has a long history of working with partners to support African governments scale up and enhance safety nets, in particular for the most vulnerable. And this includes providing support to over 30 African nations in implementing social protection responses during the COVID-19 pandemic. But we need to do more, and we need to act together. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year of unprecedented humanitarian need sets off an alarm bell that we cannot ignore. The joint impact of conflict, climate shocks, and economic crises continues to drive food insecurity and malnutrition exponentially. The protracted socioeconomic effects of COVID-19 and the rising costs of food and energy resulting from the conflict in Ukraine are expected to worsen this situation. This year, over 100 million people across countries on the continent are projected to be in acute food insecurity, and that's a stark 22% increase from just 1 year ago. Further, millions of children will suffer from wasting, the most lethal form of malnutrition and one of the top threats to child survival. 6.3 million children in Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, and Senegal alone. And this represents the fifth year in a row with record high levels of acute malnutrition across the region. We cannot keep on doing business as usual. We need greater commitment, investments, and coordination if we want to address the nutrition challenges on the continent and strengthen resilience to future crises. Social protection is a powerful tool to help the most vulnerable. It helps them mitigate the worst effects of economic crisis, natural disasters, and conflict. It helps combat inequalities and creates a pathway to more stable and prosperous societies, leaving no one behind as we go. The discussion that WFP and ILO co-hosted has emphasized the urgent need to scale up and expand social protection, which is also a key tenet of the Secretary General's common agenda. And this includes through placing food security and nutrition front and center in shock responsive social protection mechanisms. And I just want to reiterate some of the key messages that emerged last week during the ADS webinar facilitated by WFP and ILO. First and foremost, to effectively advance nutrition for greater resilience in the continent, social protection must support inclusion, as diverse inequalities are often intersecting with malnutrition. And in doing so, we need to prioritize the needs of the most nutritionally vulnerable, such as infants, young children, pregnant and breastfeeding women, and those for whom the gap is largest, who are unable to meet their nutrient needs. And this was very well highlighted by the Honorable Minister Navaid El-Kabag, who talked about national social safety nets targeting Egypt's most vulnerable pregnant women and mothers of children under 2 years of age in collaboration with WFP and other partners as part of the response to the COVID-19 crisis. We also call on policymakers to deliberately incorporate food security and nutrition objectives into social protection strategies, policies, and programs to support people's well-being now and into the future. And as highlighted by Her Excellency Amina Mohammed during the webinar, nutrition-sensitive school meals programs across the continent are a key investment to the health and well-being of future generations, with multiplier effects on education, social cohesion, and economic development. And African member states have made tremendous strides in expanding school meals programs across the continent, increasing their budget allocations, adopting rigorous policy frameworks for school feeding, and improving the quality of school health and nutrition interventions. And the African Union, the AU Development Agency, NEPAD, and more than 29 African countries have recently joined the School Meals Coalition, committing to ensuring that all children have access to a healthy, nutritious meal in school by 2030. And this is a crucial step towards reaching those 60 million children on the African continent who still don't have access to meals in school. And lastly, WFP and ILO call on adopting resilient and shock responsive approaches that better help people in managing risks during sudden emergencies or seasonal stressors, while promoting coordination among actors on the ground across the humanitarian, development, and peace nexus. And the example that was brought forward by the High Commissioner of Niger's 3N initiative, His Excellency Ali Beti, demonstrates that preventive action, early warning systems, and improved coordination among different government bodies can indeed ensure greater effectiveness during recurring droughts, preventing deteriorations in the food security and nutritional status of the population. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year we have an incredible opportunity to progress towards the African Union Agenda 2063 with actions that can help mitigate the current crisis and build a prosperous and equitable future for the continent. Please don't let the alarm bell go unheard. WFP and the entire United Nations family stands ready to support the African Union and its member states to shift the needle on malnutrition across the continent, ensuring better access to social protection systems that help meet food security and nutrition needs, leaving no one behind. Thank you.